Hi, and welcome back, everybody. This is Anime from Accelerated Excellence and True Awakenings NLP Coaching and Training Center. In our previous recording, I spoke about decisions and beliefs and how that affect your filters and your outcomes in reality. And in this recording, I want to talk about our memories and memories of our past experiences. Why are they important, and how do they influence what my life is experiencing, what I'm experiencing in my life on a day-to-day basis, and how would it influence my future and my goals. So what's important about these memories, in other words, for memories, is also to recall, so recollection of something, or to relate to something. Now, why this is important to relate to something is I want you to think of your memories as your fact file. This is where we go and say, this is what I've experienced in life, and this is what my facts are. And if I've never experienced something before, then it might work for you, but it's not going to work for me because I don't have it in my fact file. So we relate to our memory. Now, when you think of certain events that happened to you in your earlier life, in your childhood, your recollection of a memory versus an adult's recollection of a memory would be a very, very different description of the same memory. So these memories are important to evaluate and have a look at and recognize whether they are actually the facts that we believe them to be, because they become what we relate to. And if we relate to these things on a daily basis, then they become the influence of what I get to experience. And it's like a copy paste. It just happens to, and I just keep on relating everything to that specific experience and that memory. Now, I remember having a conversation with my dad a couple of years ago, and without giving too much details of the actual memory, and I spoke about a memory, and I had this total perception from my opinion on my experience of it. And when we spoke about it, he looked at me all confused and he said, well, no, that's not how it happened. And he explained it to me from his side. And I actually started laughing. I said, you mean to tell me that I've been holding onto this memory for the last, 10 years or whatever it might have been. And it was actually completely opposite to how I recalled it and how I experienced it. And that assumption, of course, of what I recall that memory to be was very different to his. So we had a good chuckle about it. And I said, that's just, again, the power of communication and the power of actually acknowledging, that there is multiple layers of the truth. If we go back to the double slit exercise and experiment, that all of these opportunities and possibilities exist simultaneously, and it's how we choose and how we perceive it is what we're going to experience. So imagine we're sitting in a restaurant and they come in and they rob the place, and from a reporting point of view, the cops come in and do affidavits. And let's say I'm a hairdresser and you're a fashion designer, and the cops come in and take our affidavits, and we'll both give our version of the story. And because I'm a hairdresser, think of the environment. So think of what it looks like in the restaurant as white, gray, and black scale. So all variations of white, gray, and black. Now, as a hairdresser, in my world, what's important to me, my filters will highlight in color all the different hairstyles that's there. And so that will be something that I would put in my affidavit, like this oak's hairstyle looked like that, and that one's hair was like that. So you'll be very, very specific and accurate in describing based on your perception because of what became highlighted in color to you. Now, well, to me, if I'm the hairdresser, now speaking to you is if you're playing along with me and you're the fashion designer, what you would do in your affidavit is you would explain all the different outfits and what type of shoes they had on, and if it was brand or non-brand or whatever it might have been. And both of those affidavits would be 100% correct based on our perception. But this is how we will gather the information that suits us based on what is in our memories of what we've experienced before. Now, if I experience that every day and it becomes my fact, then that would be one of the filters. That's why it's so important in the filters of what I experience in my reality on a constant day-to-day basis. So sometimes we need to take a look at those memories and ask ourselves, are they actually the way I remember them? And even if they were, what can I find out of that memory that could be useful? Now, if you think of a significantly emotional event or traumatic event, in I think 2007, 2008, when we had a big economic bang with the property market and a whole lot of stuff happened, I remember going through a very difficult financial situation, and I was retrenched. At the same time, 80% of the managers in that industry, in that franchise that we were in, were retrenched. And I can look at an event like that and go, and it was the beginning of Christmas, the beginning of December. So, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all those good things. Here's your, your package. So I could look at that event and say that was a significant traumatic event. And I could get stuck there and say, how could that happen to me? And, all the negativities that we could label it with. Or I can say, well, what can I learn from this? And how could I turn this event into something that I can use as a catapult to bounce into the direction I want to go? So any event that is significant or any environment that you find yourself in is going to come through your old memories. So when we are putting new memories in there, make sure that we're putting it in a way that it would give you resources and tools that you can use to get your outcomes, instead of spending 95% on repetition. That would be a negative, right? So every story that exists, every experience that we have, there's a law of duality. There's a flip side to the coin. There's two sides to the story. You've heard this many times. And if we only take stock on the one side, we're going to miss out on what's on the other side. So yes, it might have been a difficult event to go through at that time, but what did I get from it? Who did I become as a result of it? And so generally what happens normally, things like that, when there's a difficult situation that takes place, we're going to start digging deep, and we are very resourceful as human beings, and we actually start coming out on the other side way better off than what we thought we would have been. But in the moment, we anticipated it to be negative, and especially if the memories of our past is labeled that way. So the law of relativity states it's only going to be relative to you, the meaning you attach to it. So whatever you're relating it to is going to be the emotion and the feeling that you create, which is ultimately going to affect the other filter that I want to talk about quickly, is called attitude. So an attitude is a settled way of thinking and feeling. So if your mind settles into thinking that way all the time, it settles into feeling that way all the time, and that becomes your attitude. So do you have an attitude that is negative based on old memories, or do you have an attitude that is based on, I can do this, whatever life throws at me, that I can get up? Okay, so if you think of every cloud as a silver lining, we're very quick to get stuck on the clouds, and then you say, I can see the silver lining. But what we forget is the light on the other side of those clouds are eternal. I mean, the sun doesn't switch off at any point. It's always on, it's always there. It's just because we don't get to experience it right now doesn't mean it's not there, but it does not mean that the light disappears. So that light around the edge of the cloud reminds us that it's always there, that sometimes it's going to be sunny and sometimes it's going to be cloudy, and that's okay. In a cloudy day, I don't know, it's a good day for curry for me. I immediately get excited if it rains. I love all variations of weather, if I can just use that as an example. So how do I label those experiences? And that will cause me to feel a certain way, and that will become my consistent attitude if I'm consistently thinking and putting those memories into my storage bank that way, because then that memory is going to be what I relate everything else to. So if you keep on telling yourself today is a tough day, then you're starting to install only tough days, and all of the memories you recall as new information comes, it's going to be related to everything that was just installed in the past that was tough days. So it's very difficult for you then to start changing your focus and your attitude if your memory bank is full of tough days. So we've got to try, and that's why it's so important to flip the script and focus on what is something that serves you better. What is the silver lining in this cloud? What is this that you can experience as a positive, that it brings this whole equation into balance? So if there's a law of duality, I want you to think of it as two scales. On the one side, we have what people would call the problem or the challenge. On the other side, we have what do we learn from this? How do we grow from this? The two of them together is what gives us this congruency, what gives us this wholeness. It's what the Chinese describe in the yin and the yang. There will be a white side with a little black dot in it, and there will be a dark side with a little white dot. So on great days, I can still bump my toe, and on days where it's difficult, there's always hope. But it's about putting them together and saying, overall, life is balanced and happy. So it's having to find the other side, because if you just pick up the one side, the scales will tip and it's out of balance. So the memories that we put in needs to be in balance. We need to look at what is the flip side of the coin, not just the one side, but both sides. So what do we learn out of this staying at home time as, what are the good things that I can learn from this and how important health is, and to maintain that balance going forward so that the memories that I install here is going to reflect and relate into my future, into the direction of where I want to go, so that it creates this feeling and this attitude that I need to achieve whatever I set my mind to. So be mindful of how you are explaining those memories that you're busy creating right now, living in the moment of now. Every single second you're putting something into the memories. The beliefs and the values that we've touched on before is going to be the labels around those memories in any event. So we are addressing those memories, and I'm going to talk about how do we manage those memories going forward. How do we recall those past memories and literally find what is the other side of the coin, what is the flip side to the story, so that those memories can become balanced and we can clean them up. So there is for sure tough times that we've experienced. You'll notice that the values actually come as a result of that. If there is a void, if there is a gap, if there is a pain, if there's discomfort, then something on the opposite will become really important to you as a result of that. The value exists because of the void and the vacuum that was there in the first place. And so when we look for this value, if we look for this resource, we look for the other half of the story, the memory is balanced as you put it in. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Make sure that the memories that you're starting to put into your memory bank now serve you in terms of where you want to go. Learn to look. I'm not saying, again, be an ostrich, stick your head in the sand and pretend that it's only positive. No. Everything that exists with purpose. So even if you're experiencing the fear or a negative emotion, why is it there? And find the positive. What is the purpose of fear? Well, it's to protect you. It thinks that you're under threat. It thinks that you're in danger. So take a step back and say, am I really in danger? Am I really under threat here? And, and how close is this to me? And how can I look at it in a way that causes me to feel not the feeling of fear, but still be alert and aware and make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to be safe, So, and keeping it in a space where you can say, hey, well done, I had a good day today, we were safe today, even if you had to go out and get some supplies and food, if you kept a safe distance, you could say, hey, I might have been in an uncomfortable situation, but everybody kept their safe distance, everybody was playing along, I'm grateful to be living in a space like that, and if someone else is not doing what you expect them to do, that is their model of the world, but you can say, at least I know I was doing my part. And I look forward to the day where people recognize how they influence it as well and have no opinion about what someone else does. Everybody handles based on their own memories and their own filters, handles and behaves differently. And so people are doing the best they can with what they have. You just be the change you need to be in this moment for you to create the ripple effect. And when you are showing people how to do it, then you'll unconsciously give them permission to do it the same way. So make sure that the memories that you install and the way that you think about it, the way that you feel about it is in a balanced way so that when you recall it in the future, they serve you positively. Okay, again, sending you much love and see you in the next recording. Bye.